Wife cheats. Husband leaves. The letter that ended everything. While she and a group of friends decided to kick off weekend at their favorite bar, they indulged in more than a few drinks, dancing the night away until the mix of alcohol and exhaustion got the better of Samantha. She was grateful she hadn't driven, knowing Jesse would inevitably end up being the designated driver once again, complete with his predictable lectures on the way home. Staying out late had become a frequent habit for her over the past year or so. Stumbling down the dimly lit hallway, barely able to stay upright, Samantha's thoughts turned to her husband. She wondered if he was already asleep. A mischievous smile crept across her face. It wouldn't be unusual for her to make enough noise to wake him up, a thought that strangely amused her in her slightly inebriated state. Resentment simmered beneath the surface as she clung to the railing and climbed the stairs. She passed the guest room without so much as a glance, her unsteady steps still determined. When she reached their bedroom, she was already leaning on the wall to keep her balance. Pushing the door open with her foot, she was surprised to see the bedside lamp still on, but even more startled by the empty bed. Where the hell is he? She thought, mind racing. Instinctively, she checked bathroom first. After a thorough search of the upstairs, there was no sign of Jesse. With her heart pounding, Samantha went downstairs. Noticing a faint light coming from the kitchen, she assumed he'd fallen asleep at the table waiting for her. Entering the room, she found only the range hood light on, no sign of Jesse. Annoyance bubbled up as she muttered, "He's going to hear about this when he gets back." Her eyes swept over the cluttered counter, debating whether to leave the mess for the morning. That's when something shiny caught her eye. Dragging a high stool closer, she plopped down and picked up the object, a wedding ring. Familiar weight of it in her palm sent a chill down her spine. Underneath the ring was a stack of documents, passport, what appeared to be a travel ticket, and a sealed envelope. She glanced at the clock, 2:30 a.m., contemplating staying up to confront him. She sighed heavily and rested her head. She wasn't sure how she ended up on the floor. The thud woke her. Rubbing her sleepy face, she glanced at the clock. 5:45 a.m., realizing Jesse had returned home and left her passed out on the counter only fueled her anger. Determined to confront him, she marched upstairs. The bedroom was empty once again. This time, she moved with intent. Heading back downstairs, she turned on a bright kitchen light, flooding the space with clarity. Confusion mingled with irritation as she opened the garage door, only to see Jesse's car still missing. Her gaze returned to the counter, where the items remained untouched. She grabbed the passport, noting the outdated photo. She couldn't remember the last time she'd used it. Ticket to Florida only deepened her confusion. Curiosity piqued. She tore open the envelope bearing her name, rushing to grab her reading glasses. Back in the kitchen, she perched on a stool and unfolded the letter, her eyes scanning the words. Asterisk, "Dear Samantha, if you're reading this, it means you've realized I'm not home and have found the things I left for you. You've probably heard the term last call at ours, something that's been a significant part of your life these past few years. Well, consider this your last call. It won't surprise you to hear that our marriage hasn't been working for a long time. I wish I could say I'm willing to let it continue as it is, but I can't. From where I stand, we have two options. Option one, you take these documents and come with me. We'll spend a difficult week trying to figure out if there's anything left to say. If you choose this, I'll be waiting for you when you arrive. Option two, we call it quits, divide everything in the facade, and move on with our lives. Honestly, I prefer option two. There's still enough of what we once had that I'm willing to give it one last try. I'm not here to dissect how we got to this point or assign blame. Simply can't keep going down the path you've chosen for us." Asterisk, Samantha paused, staring at the letter in disbelief. Her mind spun. This had to be some kind of cruel joke. Jesse wouldn't actually go through with something so dramatic. Any moment now, she expected him to walk through the door, apologizing like he always did. But as the silence stretched on, the weight of the letter settled over her like a heavy fog. Samantha scoffed, swirling the last sip of her coffee, thoughts simmering with bitterness. "If he thinks threatening me with divorce will scare me, he's got another thing coming," she muttered to herself. Despite her frustration, she convinced herself to keep reading the absurd letter. After all, she'd already wasted so much time on it. "Samantha, we shared some truly wonderful memories and raised two incredible kids together. But as people often say, staying in a broken marriage for the kids isn't sustainable. Now that they're grown and building their own lives, it's time for us to confront the cracks in ours if we're willing to. I believe that if we can, we might rediscover the love and connection we once had. It won't be easy, but it's the only way forward if we want this marriage to work." Damn it, damn it, damn it," Samantha muttered, throwing the letter onto the counter in frustration. "I gave everything to that man, and now he has the audacity to say it's not enough. Oh, he's going to pay for this. Just wait until he walks through that door." She paced the kitchen, agitation growing with every passing second. "If he had even a shred of courage, maybe I wouldn't have to push him so hard," she grumbled. "If it weren't for me, he'd still be a nobody selling rubber parts instead of climbing the corporate ladder. He should be bowing at my feet, not throwing around ultimatums like he's some kind of big shot. Who does he think he is? His mother?" Anger bubbled inside her. Samantha grabbed the letter again, determined to finish reading it. As I mentioned mentioned Samantha, I'll be waiting for you when the plane lands, ready to start rebuilding our lives together. But you need to make sure you're on that flight. Samantha's eyes darted to the plane ticket on the counter, widening as she realized what he was suggesting. There's no way I can make that flight. Leaves in 3 hours, she exclaimed, glancing at the clock. She shook her head and smirked. Mr. Almighty is going to be in for a surprise when I'm not on that plane. Fiddling with Jesse's wedding ring in her fingers, Samantha considered her next move. In this ring, she mused, a mischievous smile spreading across her face. He's not getting it back without a fight. I'll have to earn it. Before she could finish her thought, the ring slipped her fingers, falling to the floor. Too exhausted to pick it up after a night out with friends, she left it where it landed. All she wanted now was to sleep. Dealing with Jesse and his ridiculous letter, wait till she felt ready. Unbeknownst to her, the letter contained more than just Jesse's ultimatum. If she had read further, she would have uncovered the next steps of a plan already in motion, events that were about to unfold in just a few hours. That morning, while nursing a cup of coffee and silently cursing the lingering effects of her hangover, Samantha was startled by the sudden arrival of Jesse and his brothers, Jeremy and James. They marched straight through the front door without even knocking. Excuse me, you two can't just barge into my house. Even if you are Jesse's brothers, Samantha snapped, glaring at them as they entered. Jeremy shot her a cold look. Feel free to finish your coffee. We're just here to grab a few things Jesse asked for, he said curtly. Fine, but make sure to tell him he's in big trouble when he gets back, Samantha retorted sharply. Without responding, brothers quickly finished their task, hauling black garbage bags up and down the stairs in 3 trips. Within minutes, they were gone, leaving Samantha fuming in the empty kitchen. They could have at least said, thank you, she grumbled to herself, finishing her second cup of coffee and debating whether to make breakfast or lunch. She glanced at the clock and ultimately opted for a late lunch. Meeting up with her friends for shopping, and with Jesse still nowhere to be found, things took a turn, and the night ended up stretching into another full-blown outing. This time, Samantha didn't even bother going home. She woke up on Sarah's couch late Sunday afternoon, nursing a pounding headache, a stark reminder of the previous night. The second time in 2 days, she swore off drinking, though she knew the resolution would only last until the hangover faded. Jesse's probably at home wondering where the hell I am. Screw him, let him wait, he thought smugly before drifting back to sleep. Sunday evening, practicality forced her to return home. With work looming on Monday, no extra clothes at Sarah's place. Reluctantly, she made her way back to the still empty house. Entering, she felt her anger resurface. He can avoid me all he wants, but he can't hide forever, she muttered, already plotting her next move. Sunday night passed uneventfully. To her disappointment, lying in bed with a book in hand, thoughts drifted to Jesse, not with anger, but with a surprising twinge of longing. Maybe I'll cut him some slack when he gets back. It's been a while since, well, he knows how to make me feel good, she thought, faint warmth looming in her chest. It wasn't exactly love, it was enough to occupy her mind. She woke up Monday morning, book still in her lap. The house was in chaos without Jesse's usual presence to motivate her to get up. Samantha found herself rushing to work, arriving 30 minutes late and disheveled. The day passed in its usual whirlwind. She barely had time to think about Jesse's absence until Sarah brought it up during their coffee break. Where's Jesse been lately? Running around like you? Sarah asked, laughing casually. The question hit Samantha harder than expected, reminding her of the events she'd been trying to ignore. At 10:54 a.m., Samantha was caught off guard when a man in a sharp suit approached her desk. Without saying much, he handed her an envelope. Mrs. Samantha Gray, you've been served, he said flatly, turning and leaving as abruptly as he had arrived. Samantha felt her cheeks flush with heat. That idiot is going to regret this, she muttered, glancing around to see if any co-workers had witnessed the humiliating scene. During lunch, Samantha and Sarah examined the documents. He's not asking for much, Sarah noted, flipping through the neatly typed pages. 50% of the saving, half 401k, and you keep the house. Seems like he just wants out. He's getting nothing, Samantha growled venomously. When I'm done with him, I'll regret ever crossing me. Bitterness she usually reserved for Jesse spilled over with vengeance. Fueled by anger, Samantha logged into their shared bank account during lunch, only to find that Jesse had already withdrawn 50% of the funds. She immediately called the bank. The representative confirmed her fears. Jesse had legally withdrawn the money and opened a new account in his name. No other accounts could be located. The realization hit her like a ton of bricks. It planned everything meticulously. Seething, Samantha stopped by another bank on her way home and opened a new account exclusively in her name. Who can play this game, she thought with grim determination. Back in her empty house, she poured herself a large glass of wine and picked up Jesse's letter, along with the other items left on the counter days earlier. With a deep sigh, she resumed reading. If you choose not to board this flight, I'll take it as your answer. Next steps are already in motion. I've taken what I wanted from the house and left the rest for you. My siblings will pick up what remains by Saturday. On Monday, you'll receive the divorce papers I prepared months ago. This is your last chance. If you're not on this flight, it's over. Well, I'll try to be fair. Contesting this will only make things uglier, and I doubt either of us want that. As for our children, they've known for a while that our marriage has been little more than a formality. I suspect they won't be too surprised. Our families likely feel the same way. That's all I have to say until we meet again, if we do. If not, I wish you a good life despite everything. I hold no grudges. Your husband, Jesse. Samantha's hands trembled as she reread the final lines. The weight of his words finally sank in. He thinks this is over just because he says so, she muttered bitterly. Her gaze fell on the untouched plane ticket. The idea of taking the flight felt absurd. absurd now. It was too late, and she had no intention of chasing after Jesse. Meanwhile, thousands of miles away, Jesse was relaxing in a chair, entertained by a new gadget he bought the previous week. Gloria, sitting nearby, looked at him sympathetically. "I'm sorry, Jesse," she said softly. "Don't be," Jesse replied without looking up. "This mess is mostly my fault. Maybe if I had stood my ground earlier instead of giving in to her all these years, things could have been different. But who knows? At this point, I don't even care." Gloria hesitated before asking, "Do you really think she'd come?" "No," Jesse admitted, scrolling through the menu on his iPad. "But I promised the kids I'd try one last time." Gloria smiled. "Well, I guess we won't need both cabins now. But if you'd like, we could alternate cabins each night. That way, we'll always have a fresh bed to mess up." She spoke playfully. The glint in her eyes hinted at something deeper. Leaning closer, she pulled Jesse into a kiss that had been building up for years. Gloria had been part of Jesse's life for over a decade, first as a colleague, then as a confidant. Her husband had passed away 8 years earlier, and in Jesse, she found a constant source of support. He listened when she needed to vent, offered kind words when she felt frustrated, and reminded her to keep living. "Your husband may be gone, you're still here," he once told her. "Mourn him, yes, but then move forward. You're young, beautiful, and have so much to offer." Those words stayed with Gloria, and their bond only grew stronger over time. 3 years ago, she left a simple card on Jesse's desk with just 2 words: "Thank you." Jesse knew exactly who it was from. For years, their connection remained purely platonic till 9 months ago. That Monday morning, Jesse showed up at work, his usual composure shattered. Gloria was there to help pick up the pieces. With Samantha, everything revolved around her: endless complaints, a lack of gratitude, and her refusal to see how much Jesse had done for her. He was exhausted. Despite everything, Gloria continued to support him, offering advice and a shoulder to lean on. But even she had her limits. Samantha's behavior pushed Gloria to take more drastic steps to help Jesse escape his misery. Then, seemingly out of nowhere, Jesse proposed a surprising idea: a vacation on the Carnival Glory. But there was a catch: they'd stay in separate cabins. "This cruise is my last attempt to salvage what's left of my marriage," Jesse admitted to Gloria. "Although, if I'm being honest, I'm almost certain Samantha will let slip away, just like everything else." He paused, his tone softening. "Even if she does show up, I want you there, Gloria. I need someone to help me handle everything if this really is the end." Gloria smiled, touched by his vulnerability. "Of course, Jesse," she said warmly. They planned the trip together, and when the day came, they waited side by side at Gate 26 of Southwest Airlines. When the pilot and crew finally boarded, Jesse felt a wave of relief. Without hesitation, he turned to Gloria, surprising her with a kiss. First, it was soft, then it was filled with the passion he had suppressed for years. "I wanted to do this forever," Jesse confessed, stealing another quick kiss before smiling. "Now let's go. We've got a ship catch." After checking into their respective cabins, Jesse and Gloria spent the day exploring the ship. They marveled at the week of relaxation ahead, shared a delicious dinner, and danced late into the night. By 1 a.m., they finally discussed the sleeping arrangements. True to his word, Jesse returned to his cabin alone. But over breakfast the next morning, he made a promise, slipping a simple ring onto Gloria's finger. "This will be the last time I sleep alone."